Hi everyone. So what you're seeing here today is this pad. This is the next generation first season version of a pad, but this version is actually made out of acrylic. The first season versions of the pads were mostly made out of masonite, layered together, machined out on the top layer, and pieced together. This is made the same way, except for this is acrylic, 2 layers of 1/4 inch and a layer in the center, which is slightly smaller all the way around, making what they call a reveal. The piece of smaller acrylic is glued in and it's all glued down. Now, during next generation, 99% of all the pads we made were made by hand out of sheet plastic, either out of acrylic or out of styrene, but it just really depended. And at that point, there really wasn't options to make these pads like there are now. Right now, you can go into almost any shop nowadays and find that they have a laser. So you can laser cut each and every layer very precisely, and then you still have to round the edge, but you can do that with a small router. Even a Dremel will, with a router bit, will do this rounded edge here. During DS9, we decided that it was getting too time consuming, because on DS9, instead of us making one of each pad or 2 of each pad, in some cases they would be ordering 10 or 15 of them, as well as all the other props that we were making for that episode. So it became very time consuming to try and cut out all the shapes on all the different pads that we were doing, including the alien pads. I decided that we were going to be casting them in resin as a one-piece unit. After 4 or 5 different iterations of how we were casting these, in some cases we were just simply attaching this to the bottom of a piece of foam core and boxing around it and then pouring silicone. What they call an open face mold that we can simply pour resin into, and you did have to deal with this reveal section here, because this whole section here would have been an undercut, as well as this edge on each and every casting. So you'd learn a technique of how to make sure it wasn't catching bubbles. Then later on, as time went on, we decided we were going to make a 2-piece mold, which split right along one of these edges. But instead of trying to pour this vertically like this, and try and pour the resin down, we decided we were going to go to the corner. So when you poured this resin, there was the bleeder was here, and we would simply have an injector toward the back somewhere here. And as the resin would be injected in, it would slowly, what we call sweeping up the edges. So there is no undercuts. If you're looking at that, there's no undercuts if it's at an angle, because that is going to allow the air in every direction to go up to the bleeder top. We switched from doing, when we're doing just basic, all the basic pads for DS9 and Voyager, and for some of the different films, First Contact and so on, we were doing this technique so that we could not have to try and regrind all of this to look the same, even though most of the time you would never know the difference anyway, because they're being held, at different angles, so you don't see the whole thing all at one time. But it made it faster. So this particular pad I made back in probably about the 3rd season of Next Generation, and I kept it as a master. Like most of the stuff, I like to have a master sitting on hand that I can mold off of, and so on. But as I said, you know, the original ones were either masonite or acrylic or plastic of some kind, assembled together as individual pieces. And then later on, it ended up being more of a casting situation, which actually increased our productivity by about 400%. So that being said, we found it a lot easier to do that. The paint job itself depended on the show it was on. So whether it was going to be Next Generation, so was it Dove Gray, or was it pewter in color 71, 73, or in some cases, you know, we would repaint these for alien races as well, but they were kind of not, you know, since you're going to reuse everything, you never know who's going to be using it. So some of these ended up being Romulan pads where they're painted a greenish color with some silver striping and all this other stuff. I'm sure you can tell me in the comments below where besides it was used as a Federation pad. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe. And if you feel so inclined, please become a patron. Thank you.